In this video, I'm going to be cooking up a super thin, cracker-like crust, Chicago style, thin style, Tavern style pizza. A lot of people from Chicago will say that this is the real Chicago style pizza, not the deep dish, and I know a lot of them prefer it. So this pizza does take a couple of days to prepare, a couple of extra steps that you wouldn't normally do, but it is one of those pizzas that's really good for people who aren't confident in handling dough. You don't have to stretch it out by hand, risking tears, and you don't have to worry at all about the pizza sticking to the pizza peel. So it's definitely up there with one of my favorite styles of pizza. I'm gonna make some hot Italian sausage to top it with. Yeah, it is gonna be delicious. So obviously we're gonna start off with our dough. We're gonna make it in a food processor. Seems to be the easiest way. Full recipe will be down below, obviously. And we're gonna start off with 2 different types of flour. Not to be fancy or overcomplicate things, this is a practicality. So most recipes you're gonna find for Tavern style pizza, and the way it's traditionally made, is to use all-purpose flour or AP flour. We don't have specifically AP flour here in the UK. So if you're somewhere like me that doesn't have access to AP flour, what you can do is mix regular plain flour and bread flour. So all-purpose flour in the US typically has a higher protein content than our regular plain flour, but it doesn't have quite the protein content of bread flour. So I'm mixing the two and coming up with something that has about the same protein content as all-purpose flour. Obviously, if you're in the States, just use all-purpose. Give that a little mix. And basically, the reason why it's important is that if you do use bread flour, you might end up with a slightly chewier crust than you ideally want for this style of pizza. And if you use plain, maybe not enough gluten formation. Anyway, you're gonna put in some yeast. This is the instant stuff that you can just add straight to the flour. Salt, diastatic malt powder, sugar. Again, I'm gonna mix those up, just the dry ingredients. Then some olive oil, and then I'm gonna slowly pour in my water. I'm gonna cut that together for no more than 30 seconds. And what we have is something that looks like that, kind of a shaggy dough, but it's all come together nicely. Just put the lid on that and let that rest for about an hour. So after about an hour or so, maybe 2 hours, this can come out of the mixer onto the board. And I'm just gonna use my dough scraper to kind of bring it into a nice taut ball. It's kind of looking shaggy and rough on top now. I want it to look nice and smooth, but I don't want to overwork it like I would do if I was trying to make a pizza that I intended to stretch out. This pizza is actually rolled out with a rolling pin, so you don't need it to be too strong with too much gluten in there. So I'm just gonna ball it up nice and lightly so there's a little bit of strength, pop it into a container, and then this can go into the fridge for about 12 hours or overnight. 12 hours of bulk fermentation later, this has come out the fridge. We're gonna break it down into dough balls. I'll try and get this out into the most even shape as I can. That way it'll be really easy to visually divide it by 4. But if not, we can always weigh the total dough ball and weigh each dough ball up individually. That looks good. So I'm gonna half it, then half those. Then I'll just flatten them out, fold them under, and make some nice smooth rounded dough balls. I like to pull the dough ball towards me with my pinkies at the bottom and use the friction of the board to seal up the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 5. So the next major stage for these will be to roll them out into pizza shapes. But because I've just balled them up, the gluten in them is going to be really tight and they won't stretch out very easily. So they need to rest for 3-4 hours before we do that. So onto a baking tray or any kind of vessel, I'm going to put on some fine cornmeal. This is just going to stop them from sticking. And I'm going on with way more than I need to stop them from sticking because cornmeal plays a big part in the classic Tavern style pizza. More on that in a bit. Another sheet on top, and that can just chill like that for the next 3 to 4 hours at room temperature. So when it comes to the toppings for this pizza, I'm gonna keep it very traditional. I'm gonna make a hot Italian sausage. It's gonna taste exactly like the kind of sausage that you get in that area in the north of the United States. For me, that pizza topping is right up there with pepperoni. It's really, really easy to make. I've made it before on this channel. Highly recommend that you do the same. It's the perfect pizza topper, whether you make in Chicago, New York, Neapolitan, whatever, make it. And it basically starts off with some pork mince or ground pork, and I made a bit of an error. I forgot that today was Monday and my butcher doesn't open on Mondays, so I went to the supermarket and just got 20% fat pork mince. Not ideal, but it'll do. So you call it sausage, but that doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be linked up into a casing. I'm gonna put this directly on the pizza, but you could case it up if you want. So into here, in no particular order, we're gonna go with salt, some sugar, some MSG. That's gonna make it taste like a real pizzeria. Some fennel seeds that I've crushed up in my pestle and mortar. You could use ground, but I like the texture of this and I like the freshness. Red pepper flakes or red chili flakes, some hot paprika, some basil, some oregano, black pepper, red wine vinegar, some freshly crushed garlic. You could sub in dried ground garlic powder, but it's not remotely the same. And some cold water. Then we just mix this up. I can already smell it, that fennel, the garlic. It smells like a pizzeria. When you make this, you'll recognize the smell, because at least to me, it smells like that smell that hits you when you walk into a pizzeria in the States. But yeah, just a few minutes of mixing. We're not trying to get this to bind together or anything too much. We still want it to be nice and tender when it's on the pizza. So yeah, as long as all the spices and garlic and stuff has been evenly distributed, this can just get cling filmed, and it needs to go in the fridge for at least 12 hours, ideally 24 hours. Let everything meld together. And if you wanted to, you could cook a little ball of this stuff now. Check the salt, make sure that it's hot enough, make sure that it's got everything that you want in it. Yeah, for me, this is going back into the fridge. So those dough balls have been coming up to room temperature for the last couple of hours, and this next part might seem a little bit weird to you if you're not familiar with this process that a lot of people follow when they're making tavern style pizzas. So we're basically going to roll our dough out, not use our fingers but use a rolling pin. That's going to mean that there's going to be absolutely zero crust around the outside. Remember, we want the sauce and cheese all the way to the edge. We're going to dock it with a pizza docker, which I'll show you in a bit, to get rid of all the air bubbles, and then we are going to cure it overnight. And by cure, what I mean is to dry out and harden. And the reason for that is we want an ultra thin, super crispy, cracker-like crust that is synonymous with tavern style pizza. And one way to get that is to allow the dough to dry out in the fridge. So we're going to do all that, leave it overnight, come back tomorrow and bake it. And yeah, I'll show you how I do it. So firstly, I'm going to get some more of that fine cornmeal down onto the bench. Take our nice dough. Make sure there is plenty of corn flour all over it. Take a rolling pin and just roll out a roughly 12-inch pizza. And we do want this to be pretty thin. You might be able to see all these little air pockets in here. We are going to deal with those in a bit. If you think about a regular pizza, when you're stretching the dough out, you're kind of forcing all of the air that's built up out to the crust. So when you bake it, the air in the crust expands and you get that nice, fluffy, crispy crust around the outside. In a lot of pizzas anyway, a lot of pizzas that are round. This is almost the complete opposite of that. Toppings are going right to the edge, so we don't want that edge to raise up at all. And what would be even worse is if we got one of those air bubbles expand in the center. You've probably had that before. You leave an air bubble in there, the air expands, it rises up, and you get this spot of no cheese, hardly any sauce, and maybe a bit of burnt. So we're going to deal with that by getting rid of all of these air bubbles. And we do that by using a pizza docking tool. This is going to go through and get rid of all of those, hopefully anyway. If we're trying to get that cracker-like crust, we need contact on the base of the oven floor the entire time. We certainly don't want big bubbles forming. Next thing I'm gonna do is get it onto a pizza screen. The reason why I like this is it's nice and round, fits in my fridge nice and easily, and it's also big enough to hold this whole pizza. If you don't have one of these, just use a baking sheet. Cut all the excess off, that's a lot easier. Anyway, this will now go into my fridge overnight. And this is one part that I think a lot of people miss, but this is going to be the bottom of the pizza. So I'm gonna cover that in a little bit of extra cornmeal. The reason why this is the bottom of the pizza is because this is going to be face up in the fridge. This side's going to dry out a little bit more than the side that is touching the paper. And if I want any side to be dry, it's this side. So this will cure in the fridge overnight. It's going to dry out. It's going to be really easy to manage. You're not going to have any sticking to the peel with this pizza, that's for sure. It's one of the things that makes this such an easy pizza to deal with. So I'll get the other ones ready to go. Otherwise, this will go into the fridge, come back to it tomorrow. Should be nice and dry. Next, I'm going to make a pizza sauce that is perfect for this style of pizza. It's a cooked sauce, so it's going to be cooked down a little bit. It's going to be nice and thick. We'll start off with some olive oil and some butter. 1 crushed garlic clove. Cook that down a little bit. Some red chili flakes, not too much. Then 1 400-gram can of good quality tomatoes. I like these Rega San Marzano tomatoes. I get these from Pro Smoke Barbecue. These are whole peeled tomatoes. Get those in, start breaking them up a little bit. But as I say, this is going to be cooked down, so these will break down further, but we're also going to pulse this with a hand blender, so it will smooth out overall. Then oregano, sugar, salt, and let that simmer and blip away for about 30 to 40 minutes. Once that has cooked down and thickened up a little bit, give it a few pulses to break down any lumps. Let it cool completely. So it's the next day. Our pizza crusts have been curing in the fridge overnight, drying out with that cornmeal on. That is going to make it really easy to handle. They're going to have dried out to the point where they're Definitely not going to stick to the peel, which is good for those of you who maybe aren't that confident with launching pizzas off a peel into an oven. And just on the use of that cornmeal rather than flour, does a couple of things. Firstly, and probably originally it was used to stop the pizza from sticking to the peel if it wasn't properly dried out. Secondly, it helps to contribute to that crispy crust that you get with a Chicago thin crust pizza. And then probably over time, that flavor of the cornmeal, the nuttiness, probably is just what is associated with that Chicago thin crust style of pizza. And if you've never tried it before, definitely give it a go. It definitely brings a depth of flavor that you don't get with flour. So we've got our cured, rolled out Chicago style pizza dough crust base here. And remember, this top side is going to be the base of the pizza. It's the part that was exposed to the cold air in the fridge. So hopefully it should be a little bit drier than the stuff that's in contact with the paper. So we're going to flip this over and start topping it. But before we do that, I'm just going to talk about all the toppings that I'm going to be using rather than talking about them whilst I top it. So you saw me make the sauce, you saw me make the Italian sausage. In terms of cheese, for any American style of pizza that I'm making here in the UK, I'm typically going to be using the Arla brand of mozzarella. It's a low moisture mozzarella that you can get from Amazon, or if you have a Costco membership, from Costco at a much cheaper rate. And yeah, it's pretty much my go-to when I'm using shredded mozzarella on pizzas. The other thing I'm going to be topping this pizza with is onion. Sausage and onion is a classic pizza combination, especially in Chicago. So I just use my mandolin to thinly slice some brown onion. And then finally, another classic pizza topping for a Chicago thin crust is banana peppers. So they're kind of expensive to get hold of here in the UK because they're all imported. But Marks and Spencer here in the UK do something called Turkish grilled pepperoncinis. And these are like the ones that you get in a kebab shop, but they're pretty close to banana peppers in terms of flavor. In general, they are really good. Acidic, slightly spicy. They're going to be perfect to replace the classic banana peppers on this pizza. So yeah, I'll just thin slice these on a bias and get them on. Time to get this pizza topped. I'm going to put down some extra cornmeal. Then I'll flip my pizza over. And to be honest, this could have probably had another day's worth of curing. I would have liked it to be a little bit drier, but we'll go down with our sauce. One of the most important things with this is making sure it goes right to the edge, as close to the edge as I can get it anyway. Then low moisture mozzarella, again, all the way to the edge. Then I'm gonna go on with lots of sausage, that hot Italian. The way we cut this is pretty unique. Into squares. I think they call it party style. We want to make sure that every single bite, every single square of pizza has a bit of sausage on there. And from what I've seen, they call it tavern style because back in the day, the bars, the taverns in Chicago would make these pretty terrible pizzas. They would give them out to patrons of the bars for free to kind of keep them in there and keep them drinking. And they'd cut them into squares because obviously they get more slices and it was free, so you weren't necessarily getting a big slice of pizza, just a little bite just to keep you going. Maybe mean that you didn't go home for dinner. And as we all know, pizza is cheap to make, so it would have cost the bar or tavern very little money, whilst the guests spent money on beer and drinks. Top that with a little bit more cheese, thinly sliced onion. If you've never had sausage and onion pizza before, you're missing out. And then those pickled pepperoncinis. My attempt at getting something similar to that banana pepper. Then we'll get this onto a peel and out into the Gosney oven. Going in. Got this on a pretty low flame. I want to get that bottom crisped up. A little bit of charring on the crust is good. That's kind of what I'm after. I want to make sure that sausage is cooked through. It's looking very good. Could go a little more in the middle. Yeah, I'm going to call that done. That looks good. Have the base. Nice. Now I've got to cut it like a tavern style pizza. That is a good looking thin crust Chicago style pizza. Take a bite. Okay. These edge pieces, very good. Look at that. The slice holds up. We've got these center square pieces, which are great. These are just like one mouthful. And as good as the edge part is, I think this is my favorite bite. We've got that delicious sauce that we cooked down, good quality mozzarella in that Arla. The sausage, again, up there with pepperoni, in my opinion. The pepperoncinis or banana peppers, the onion. I'd say that's pretty much everything you could want from a Chicago thin crust pizza. Yeah. Also, these little burnt bits on the edge, not unpleasant. It's such a thin crust that you don't really get a lot of it in the bite. So yeah, you'd think it would be bitter, but it's not. It is slightly bitter, just not bitter enough that it overpowers the rest of the bite. I'm gonna have to send this to Joe Yim. He'll appreciate that for sure. Yeah, very, very good pizza, very different. I can't stop eating it. And yeah, definitely this pizza takes a few extra steps and a couple of days to make. It's by no means a quick pizza, but what you can do is you can make those bases out, cure them in the fridge, or if you want to speed things up, you can put them in a really low oven and dry them out. And then anytime you want a pizza, pull them out, sauce them, cheese them, top them, bake them, and you're good. Sausage and onions. Right, well, I'm gonna eat this whole thing then. So that was very, very good, as expected. I think every single thing from the base right up until the toppings was good quality and done well. And when you do it like that, it's always going to be good. So yes, it does take a couple of days to prepare and those couple of extra steps in there, but it's a different style of pizza, something to do if you want a little bit of a project for a couple of days. So anyway, thanks very much for watching this video. If you liked it, please like, comment, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. It really, really, really does help me out. Huge thank you to all my channel members. I'm having to move over a little further at the moment because the member list is growing, which is really, really good. So you support me every single month. I can't thank you enough. It means a huge amount to me. It really helps me to be able to make these videos. YouTube doesn't pay that well anymore, so having that extra income from the memberships really, really does help me out, and I really do appreciate it. So thank you to the members. Thank you everyone else for watching. Comment below, like it, share it, hype it. Help me out if you can, especially if you gain something from this video, and hopefully I'll see you next week for another one.